So first, let me apologize for the late start of the show. We had some technical difficulties, but nevertheless, the show must go on. Good evening, everyone. I'm Craig Palmer, your host, and my co-host, the lovely Arena Duhard. Mm.
Okay.
So
Right
tonight,
back.
tonight we're going to talk about the love languages. We kind of mentioned them last week. We were going to talk
Mhm,
about it this week. And I find the love languages, the discussion of the love languages to be pretty interesting. Why? Because,
mhm,
and let's give credit to where credit is due. Gary Chapman, the author of the Five Love Languages. Uh, let's see. Now, Arena, did you want to tell people what the five love languages are? Or would you
Are
like
we
me
talking about love languages or types of love?
No, love languages. So the love languages
Okay.
are words of affirmation, right? Physical
Mhm,
touch, receiving gifts, quality time,
mhm,
and acts of service,
mhm.
right?
Right.
So, and I know a lot of women online, what they do is, one of the first questions they ask, people is, what's your love language? And I think they ask that because they
Mhm,
want to get a better sense of what, how the person is. So that's kind of like why they
mhm.
ask that question. So now, do you know what your love language is?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, well, I knew you knew, but what's your love language?
So it's very interesting because I find that some people confuse their love language with the way that they give love.
Hmm.
And I was having this conversation earlier as well that I think people need to differentiate because especially when you come from like a Christian background, you always feel like, oh, you treat others the way you want to be treated. No, you have to be able to know how you need love and how that person needs love, and then you give them that type of love. But
Hmm.
sometimes the way we show up for love is a little different than how we need to receive love. So, like for instance, I know my love language is acts
Hmm.
of service. Period.
Okay.
Like if you do anything for me, that means more than you buying things for me, than you touching me, than you building me up, things that were, telling me like I'm, whatever. So words of
Hmm.
affirmation don't do anything for me, but I
Hmm.
am an acts of service person. But that's also how I
Hmm.
give love. I
Right.
give love by acts of service as well as gift giving. Like you will know that I love you if I'm buying stuff for you, buying stuff for your family. Like
Hmm.
that's how I show up,
Right.
but then I also want to know, okay, what's your love language? What do you need from me?
Right. And I,
So I mean, do you find that the case too?
I completely agree with that. I think some people get it confused because I think though you have to ask the person what their love language is, how they want to receive love, right? Because I know for
Mm-hmm.
me, my love language is gifts and quality time. Those are the two
Mm-hmm.
things. And the reason why it's gifts is because when someone gives you a gift, and it's not about price or cost and anything
Mm-hmm.
like that, but when someone gets you a gift, in a lot of cases, it one says that the person one was thinking about you. Two,
Mm-hmm.
it says that they've gotten to know you, and they might get to
Mm-hmm.
know what inspires you, what motivates
Mm-hmm.
you, right? And so
Mm-hmm.
that's why, gifts for me are, probably number one. Number two, quality time, because you can't get to know someone effectively if you don't spend quality time with them. The only way you really get to
Yeah.
know someone is if you're, spending time with them, talking to them, and really revealing certain aspects of their personality, right? And that's how
Mm-hmm.
you get to know them. You know what I mean? You get to know when they do dumb stuff because you're
Mm-hmm.
around them enough.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you get to understand their point of view. Like for instance, if I'm hanging out with someone and they're, in the car with me, they're gonna recognize that I have a small amount of road rage. Not an enormous amount, but a small amount of road rage, right? And so, and not to the
Mm-hmm.
point where I'm going to get out and hit someone or anything like that, But as a New Yorker, I think that we tend to have a little bit of road rage. Like we're like, get out of the road, and stuff like
Mhm,
that.
mhm,
So,
mhm.
um, and
Yeah,
you'll only see that if you're in the car with me. But how else are you going to see that unless we spend quality time together?
spend time together. But don't you feel like the five love languages really are just one? Because when you look at them, there's such a blurred line between all of them. Because if
Hmm.
I'm buying you a gift, isn't that an act of service? So if I'm
No,
taking the
no,
time out to go,
a
I feel
gift
as
is
though it's
not
the
act.
same thing.
No, no, a
It
gift.
is because it's an
No.
action you're taking, like you said, it's taking the time out to think about the person, what's going to make them feel good,
Hmm.
and you're providing that gift to them. I feel like there's a
Okay,
bit of a
so
blur between an act of service
I'm
and
gonna
a
have to
gift.
disagree. So what I did was I printed up
Not
the love
surprised.
languages, and I have the book over here.
I have it in front of me too.
Yeah. And so this is what they consider the act of service. Letting someone know you wanting to help to lighten their load. So you're doing something for them. So like for instance, I'll give you an example. You know how you said, and this the guy knows acts of service is what stimulates you because that's why he's taking your kids to school, right? That's an act of service. He's taking something off of your plate, lightening your load,
Mhm.
and he knows that's going to get him in good. You know what I'm saying? That act of service. So
But he's giving me time by doing that. So he's therefore giving me a gift. He's giving me the gift of time.
well, because no, and I get what you're saying, but the way they look at it, it's he's providing a
I
service
know.
to you. Like
I
I'm not, I don't
know.
want to call him, I don't know him, but if I was to meet him, I'd call him Uber. Like like instead of um Uber, like the Uber driver, I'm just his nickname is Uber. Because he's providing you a service. He's providing you,
No.
so that way.
Mm-mm.
So, but no, I
No,
get.
because if you're no, because you're looking at it from out of context. If you're looking at it
Mhm,
within the context of a relationship, it's not it's not just, oh, I'm just going to provide a service to you. That service has to
mhm,
be a service that you want, you need, and you're going to appreciate. So like you
mhm.
use the example of showing up and taking my kids to school. An act of service could be, oh, him showing up and power washing my house. That ain't doing nothing for me.
Right, no, that is because
So that's still an act of service,
that is something for you because that's a cost that you don't have to incur. That's
but I
something
don't
you don't have to
need
do.
it. But I
I,
don't need it. So
well,
to
I
me,
could just
that's
tell
not
you
love.
when I live. Listen, I don't know. Do you live in a community?
I do. I live in an HOA.
Oh, okay.
Hmm.
Because the community requires people to power wash their houses every so often. So let's just
Yeah,
say you
once
need
a
it done.
year. Once a year.
Okay, so he comes and does it for you. That's an act of service. It's just like a guy saying, "Hey, babe, listen, give me your car keys," and he goes and fills up your gas tank. That's an act of service.
So again, that's where the parameters need to be met. It's
Hmm.
it's not just it has to be based off of the person, the individual person, and
Hmm.
their needs, their desires, their wants. It can't just be how you want to show up for the person. It has to
Hmm.
be how the person needs you to show up for them.
Right, and but you know what? The acts of service are it can be little things. It could be, let's just say you're sick, right? And he cooks dinner for you and the
Mhm.
kids. He says, "Babe, stay in bed. You're not feeling well. Let me cook dinner for you and the kids." Or, let me order dinner for you and the kids because you're not feeling well. I don't want you cooking tonight. That's an act of service, right? He's
Right.
doing something,
That's an act of service
yeah,
that he knows I would love and that I would need.
right, right. So
But
it's a
now, if at that time he decided to go and get my car washed, that's still an act of service, but it doesn't
Mhm.
mean that it was beneficial to me.
Well, it's once again, it's taking something off of your plate. So at some point, the car is going to need to be washed, whether you
See,
needed it
again,
done that
that is a
particular.
typical male response. See, and it actually is so funny because I mean, you would understand this because we're both Christians. It goes right back to I want obedience and not sacrifice. Like if
Mhm,
no, just because you made the sacrifice to go and get my car washed, it doesn't mean that's what I need. Be
mhm,
not, for a lack of a better expression, obedient to what my
mhm.
needs are right now. Pay attention to what
Mhm.
my needs are because you can
Right,
do that act of service. And it does absolutely nothing for
right,
me.
right. But you know what? Think of it this way, right? Because acts of service is what you like, that's how you want to be shown love, right? So
Right.
let's just say, for argument's sake, he's going to do not only the ones that you want him to do, but he's doing other things that he feels is going to help you as well. So maybe you don't need the car wash, but he's saying, "Yo, you know what? Not only am I going to cook dinner for you, I'm going to wash the car, I'm going to power wash the house, but take the kids to school, right? He's going to do a whole bunch of different. So yeah, you might not have needed the car washed, right? You might have needed him to cook dinner for you, but nevertheless, that's what he's doing. He's providing acts of service. And like a lot
So
of women,
to that goes back to what I said earlier. How some
hmm
people our acts of our love languages is how we show up for people, but it
hmm
may not necessarily be the way that we need them to show up for us. So
hmm
that could just be the way he expresses love by doing acts of service, but it might not be the acts of service that I need.
well, he got
So
to pay
therefore, you're
attention.
not showing me
Obviously,
love.
I mean, obviously, he has to pay attention because there might be things that arise that you might need him to do, and he
Oh,
recognizes
for
it,
sure.
right? So he
Oh, for sure.
recognizes, hey, listen, maybe your kids go to two different schools. I don't know, and he's like, all right, babe, instead of you having to drive, kid one to school A and kid two to school B, you drive kid A, to his school, and I'll take care of so and so to his school because they go to two different
Hmm.
schools, right? You didn't tell
Hmm.
him, but he recognized, like, yo, you might need some help with that, right? And you might say,
Hmm.
oh, thank you. You might not have specifically said, listen, can you take, this kid to school? No, but he recognized it. So he was paying attention that one thing by doing this, it might make it easier for you.
Now, I will give you an example as to why I agree with you to a certain extent. So, like for instance, my fiance called me one day while I was out with the kids. Matter of fact, he
Mhm.
texted me. He said, "When you come home, pull into the garage." And I'm like, "Excuse me?" So when I got home, I just parked in the driveway, and he's like, "Why didn't you pull into the garage?" I'm like, "Because I was a little confused by that." And he's like, "Look in the garage." He
Mhm.
cleaned out my garage for me.
Mhm.
Like if anybody knows me, that meant more than me than like you buy me a diamond ring.
Mhm.
Like because I love to park in my garage, and it was irritating
Mhm.
me that I couldn't park in my garage. And
Mhm.
he didn't know that, but he knew that I would come home late sometimes at night, and he didn't
Mhm.
want me having to pull in the dark when I would like leave his apartment or whatever. He was like,
Right.
"I don't want you pulling in the dark. I want you to be able to go straight into the garage when you come home." Like that to me was an amazing act of service that I didn't
Mhm.
ask for, but he was able to realize that's what I needed. But
Right.
again, that I felt like that was more his act of service, and it just happened
Mhm.
to align with mine. You know what
Right.
I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I'm not
Exactly.
going to take credit away from him because I still loved the fact that he did that. But so I
Right.
think, like you said, you can go above what the norm might be within the context, but you still have to look at the person as a whole.
Right. And listen, little things here and there, you know what I mean? And women have heard people say, the little things count, right?
Oh,
So the
absolutely.
fact that he recognized that, and maybe, that wasn't the highest on your list of things that you might need help with. The fact that he
Right.
did it, you know what, was like, yo, okay, that,
Hmm.
was something that I needed done, but it wasn't on the top of my
Hmm.
list. You know what I mean? There might be other things on the top of your list that you're like, you know what, are more important to you, right?
Right.
So anyway, let's look at some of these, right? So you have words of affirmation, which here it indicates encouragement, affirm, appreciate, and listen actively, right? So now, what's so funny is that some of these love languages, when I think about it, also attribute to like work, right? Like I remember one time, right? I had a
Hmm.
coworker of mine, right? She comes into my classroom and she says, "I'm quitting," right? So I said, "You're quitting? Why? Why are you quitting?" She says, "Because Mike that didn't say good morning to me this morning." Right now, Mike is the supervisor, right? And Mike
Okay.
has a lot on his plate, and he walks through the hallway sometimes early in the morning and won't say one single thing to anyone. And then there are other
Hmm.
times he's very gregarious. Hey, Craig, how's it going? Good morning. Like, so you can't get offended when he just that morning he didn't say good morning. But anyway, she comes into the
Hmm.
office. She says, "I'm quitting," right? And I'm like, "Well, why?" Right? So, like I said, she said because he didn't speak to her, right? And she felt offended. right?
Mhm.
So there are some folks that need words of affirmation. They need good morning. They need to hear you did a good job. They need, and it's
Mhm.
the same thing in relationships. There are relationships where women want to get out of the relationship just because the guy didn't say, I appreciate you. You
Mhm.
know, he didn't say, I love you, right? And listen, love is just a word, but it's so impactful because when a woman hear, and don't take it wrong, because guys need to hear love too. You know, I want to hear people say, well, guys need to hear it too. Of course, guys need to hear, I love you, right? But I think because of the nurturing style of women, they
Mhm.
need to hear it more. Like, it's almost kind of like, the icing on the cake. It's like the cake without icing. If you got the cake and you're eating it every day and there's no icing, you're like, oh man, it doesn't taste as good. But once they put that little bit of icing on it, I love you. It's like, oh my God, the cake tastes so much better.
Mhm. Well,
So,
this is one of the things that I've learned, and
hmm,
correct me if I'm wrong,
oh
but
my,
from
oh,
my perspective,
hmm,
in my experience,
hmm,
I found that men actually need words of affirmation more than women do. I think that men assume women need words of affirmation because number one, I feel as though women we build ourselves up and we build each other up. You
hmm,
don't see another man going to, oh yo, bro, your hair looks tight today. I like that outfit you're wearing.
hmm,
Whereas women will do that with one another. So we kind of get those words of affirmation without always having to hear it from,
hmm,
our mate or the person that we're dating. And
hmm,
like with my fiance, for example, his initial love language was physical touch and
hmm,
acts of service. But because I'm the type of person that every day I'm looking for ways to praise you. I'm
hmm,
like, babe, you did such a great job today. The way you talk to your daughter, the way,
hmm,
you handle that business call, the way.
hmm,
And he was like, you speak life into me. You make me feel sexy. You're the only person that
hmm,
tells me, oh, wow, you look good. You smell good. I love
hmm,
that outfit. That's a great color on you. And
hmm,
I found that men need more attention and more of that build up than women do. I feel like men are fragile and they
hmm,
need more of that. Oh my God, you smell good and oh you this. He's
hmm,
like men are never made to feel sexy. Like they have to always
hmm,
just be sexy, but they're never made to feel sexy. And that's what I
hmm,
do. I can tell you all day long, like, oh,
hmm,
can I get you in the room? Like, oh my God, you smell
hmm.
amazing, you know. So I feel like
Um,
men need it more than women do.
well, let me look at it from a different perspective for a moment. Now, do we need it? No. Is it nice to hear? Of course. If someone comes up to you, right? Like, I'll give you an example. I was in the supermarket not too long ago, and I go into the supermarket, and the cashier says to me, oh my God. She's like, you so damn fine, right? I'm like, thank you, right? She's like, whatever your woman's name is, tell her she is lucky to have you, right? And I'm like, okay, thanks. Right. Now, did I need to hear that? No. Do I look
But it
for
made
it?
you feel good.
No. But it did
But
make
it
me
made
feel
you feel
good,
good.
right?
Mhm.
Because I said to myself, I still got it, even at this age, right?
When did you
So,
lose it, Craig?
right. So I mean, I get it, but I don't think we need it.
I think.
I think women need to hear it more, to be very honest with you. And I get
Mhm.
that you say that women, you praise each other, this and that, but you know what? It don't hold the same water, right? Like a woman saying to you, because quite honestly, I hear women say it all the time to each other, like, "Girl, I love your hair," right? And the woman's like, "Oh my God, you like my hair? Yes, I do, girl." Like, and you're like, "Okay," right? But if your man says, I like your hair, he's the one that's looking at you all the time. He's the one where what he says holds more weight. Another woman saying it, she could just say it to be nice, right? And she might not really like your hair that much. She's just trying to interact with you. Because that's what I think happens. I think, like, I see women,
Mhm.
their way of interacting with each other sometimes is by saying stuff like they'll say stuff like, girl, I love that outfit of yours, right?
Mhm.
And I'm gonna be honest with you. It seems like sometimes BS, right? Like I don't think they really like the outfit. My brother said he needs it. He needs the word. You need the words of affirmation, bro. I hear you. I
Yes,
I,
yes.
I don't need it, but
Yes, you do. Yes, you do. Because, like you said, when that woman said something to you, it spoke life into you and it made
Mhm.
you feel, oh, I still got it. So, somewhere subliminally, you were questioning if whether you did or not. And so, to hear it, it spoke life into you.
For the record,
Uh,
I
yeah.
subliminally, I still felt I had it.
Subconsciously, it might have been a little bit
No,
like,
baby,
oh, I'm getting
no.
older. I've got kids now. I don't dress up the way I used to. I'm not going into the office like that. So sometimes we do have everybody goes through that, especially if you have kids. Like, can I still pull what I was pulling before I had kids? Everybody thinks about that.
You know what? Yeah, I mean, there's obviously as we get older, we kind of, we're a little different, but
Right.
you should always be confident, right? Like, and yeah, I may not, pull the 30-year-old or the 40-year-old, but I can assure you, there's some 60-year-olds that look at me like, "Hey, how you doing?" So I'm
Because you
gonna
look
pull
like a
them.
saint.
It may just not be the young girls; it might be the older chicks. Like I think I told you about this woman online that had reached out to me. This is a long time ago, but the lady's like 68 years old. Like, what am I? No disrespect to her, but like, sis, you gonna get a heart attack messing around with me.
Okay, listen, I'm about to put a nail in this coffin. Why do men leave their wives? Not why do men cheat, but why do men leave their wives?
The men that leave their wives, it's more than one reason right now.
No, it's
Uh,
not. It's one reason.
well, yeah, it is more than one reason,
It's one
right?
reason. Men only
Because
leave their wives.
the women
Okay.
that cater, the women that cater to their man really well are the ones that leave leave their wives for another woman because that woman is catering to him, and it can be different ways. Like let's keep it real. You might have a woman who I hate to say she's stale sexually, but you know what? Maybe she's a little stale sexually, right? And the guy he's looking for someone who gonna ride him. The guy's looking for someone who's a little bit more
Mm-mm.
riskier. Like she's the
No,
one.
that's why men cheat, but that's not why they leave. They
No,
leave
they
when there's
do
an
leave for
emotional
that.
connection. No, they don't. The majority of the time men don't leave for sex. They leave because of that emotional connection, because they
Mm-hmm.
lost that emotional connection with their wives. They'll always say, "Oh, she spoke life into me. She, built me up,
Mm-hmm.
made me feel like a
Mm-hmm.
man. She talked to me nice."
Mm-hmm.
Men need those words more than women do. Period. Women
Mm-hmm.
leave for sex, but men don't.
I think the men kind of need the supportive words. Like they're not,
That's
like
my
I'll give you
point.
an example, right? This is a funny example. Now, when I was married, right, I would get dressed up every morning, right? And
Mhm,
I wore a suit every day to work, right? And
mhm,
I would put on my suit, my shirt, shower, get ready, right? And I would put on a tie, right? And my
mhm.
wife would say to me, "I don't like that tie," right? And I would look at it and I would say, "Did I ask you?" Right? And she's like, "No." I said, "You know why I don't ask you?" She's like, "No, why don't you ask me?" And I said, "Because you ain't wearing the tie. It's whether I enjoy the tie, whether I like the tie. So you might not like the tie, but as long as I like it, that's what makes me feel good,
See,
right?"
now that's where we differ, because I'm the type of person, I'm like, babe, that suit looks really good on you, but do you think a different tie would suit you a little bit better? Because I think that color would match your skin complexion so much better.
Well, if you had said that, and instead of her saying what she said, I don't like that tie, maybe I would have responded, said, you know what? You go ahead, baby. You pick out a tie for me.
That's how you
Right.
speak life into a person. And
Mm-hmm.
I do that to my fiance every Sunday. Like, he gets
Mm-hmm.
dressed up, he puts the suits on, when he goes
Mm-hmm.
to church or whatever. And I'm like, send me a picture. I'm like, oh babe, look at you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let me see. Turn around, do
Mm-hmm.
it. Let me see. Okay. And he sends me a
Mm-hmm.
picture every time. He's like, babe, really? Because I didn't like my beard today, or da, 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 da. I'm like, no, you look great. And I
Uh-huh.
feel like men need that. I feel like
Mm-hmm.
men absolutely need that. And I feel like some of
Mhm.
y'all are a little too embarrassed to admit that you need it,
I'm gonna be
i.e.,
honest
Mr.
with you. I
Palmer.
don't I don't think I need it because see, there's a difference between want and need. So when you say need, I don't think I need it. Now, is it nice to hear? Sure, right. But need, no, I don't really need it
No,
because
because a
because
need
I'm
is something that you have to have in your lifetime. And if you never got it, then you would be a very unfulfilled and bitter person. So it is a need.
mm, I'm gonna say I don't need it. I'm gonna have to say I'm sorry, I
Okay,
don't need it.
then
I,
let's
I,
move
I
on to the
I
next one
enjoy
because you
it.
and I are going to
All
constantly
right.
agree to disagree
All
over
right.
this, Mr.
But
New
listen,
York.
my brother said he needs it. And you know what? There are guys that do need it. So just because I don't need it, that doesn't mean that there aren't guys out there that do. Right.
Tell your brother to give me a call. I'll start a podcast on building men up every week.
Okay. You know what? I'm going to give him your number. He going to call you. Trust me, he will. Right. So let's look at
Okay,
the
so
next.
we did
The
words
next.
of affirmation.
Yeah. So now the next one is physical touch. Now this says
Okay.
nonverbal use of body language and touch to show love, right? So now this is something that I really like, right? Like I love for a woman to, and this is how you can tell if a woman is kind of into you, right? At least this is how I've been able to tell in the past, right? If she touches your hand, right, or she, grabs your arm and stuff like that, and these are just little things, little minor physical touch things, that says to that the woman is, interested in you, right? And now I'm not going to say I need it, but I do enjoy it, right? And so I think that's why physical touch is so great. Right. Now, is it number one or two on my list? No, but I do like it, and I think it's important too to give a guy a high sign. If you let's say you go out to, and this is like when I've gone on dates online, because online dating you have a tendency to meet, women usually at a location, right? You might meet them for the first time. The woman
Mhm.
that kind of grabs your hand, puts a hand on your wrist, or your forearm, or
Mhm.
she, I don't know, rubs your neck or something. The fact that
Mhm.
she physically touches you gives you a little indication that she likes you, right? And now you're thinking to yourself, I like her too. You can move forward.
Mhm.
Where you
Mhm.
have some women that don't touch you, you don't know, does she like me or she don't like me? You know what I mean? Like you
Mhm.
might have to ask her, you might have to go on a bunch of more dates to kind of for it to reveal itself. But the woman that subtly knows how to, like I said, put her hand on your forearm, rub your hand, things like that. It lets you know, like, okay, she likes me, and you can let her know,
Mhm.
by touching her as well,
Mhm.
that there's some, physical chemistry there, and you can take it
Mhm.
to the next level. So physical touch is important.
Okay.
At
So
least.
for me, don't touch me. I don't
Mhm,
like to be touched. I am one of those girls. I don't like hugs. I'm a Philly girl, so I'm hugging people
uh-huh,
all the time. So if you hug
uh-huh,
me, it doesn't mean anything to me.
uh-huh,
But again, because I'm a Philly girl, I talk with my hands. So I'm
mhm,
hitting you as we're talking.
mhm,
I'm grabbing your hand as we're talking. And it don't mean I
mhm,
have any interest in you. It just means that I
mhm,
touch people as I talk.
mhm,
But for me, I like to ask the man, what are some of the things that you like? What feels good to you? And for
mhm,
instance, like my fiance said, oh, I love when my head is rubbed. Like it's just, oh, you could
mhm,
just, send me over
mhm,
the moon if you because he's bald like you. He's like, oh, I
mhm.
just love if you rub my head.
Right.
Whereas like I like to show physical touch to a man by like scratching down his arm just a little bit, or just like
Mhm,
rubbing up and down, or like on the back of his head, or just like rubbing, on the back of his head, or like taking my hand across like the small of his back as I'm walking
mhm,
by him, or just like going up and down with my nails. And I've never had one man reject it. So again, I feel like men need more physical touch than women do because I think they're always expecting to have to be the ones to touch us first. And
mhm,
so when we're more, outgoing with the way we touch them, I feel like men actually need that more. That's how they know if a woman is attracted to them, is if
mhm.
we're touching them.
So what I did is just to remind folks, feel free to, if you're interested in picking up my book, um, The Good, the Bad, and the Art of Online Dating. You can cash at me and just add your address, and I will mail it to you. When I sent out the new shipment of books out already, I have a new shipment coming out, hopefully this week. But just make certain you pick it up. And we talk about the love languages. I'll talk about what I like and what I think women like. Of course, this is why we have the show. So that way, for those women who like other ways, right? We discuss those things, not just what I think, but what other folks like as well, right?
Mhm.
So, and for those people watching on YouTube, definitely like and subscribe and refer the show to your friends so that they can listen in as well, right?
Mhm.
So now receiving gifts, right? Very, very important, right? For me, it's number one thing, getting a gift. And like I said, it's not something that has to be necessarily expensive, but it's the thought that counts.
Mhm.
Let's see, did my thing over here? Oh, see, like this is a no. Oh, well, I have a pen that I got as a gift from a friend, and oh, you know what? This is actually I got this pen, and I love a good writing pen. So this is a
Mhm.
pen that I got from. It's a Cross pen. It's by Cross,
Mhm.
and you know what? It writes great, right?
Mhm.
And so she liked pens, a good writing pen. I like a good writing pen, and it was something that we
Mhm.
kind of bonded on. And so what she did, she got me a
Mhm.
pen, right? And so, and is a pen really expensive? Maybe it cost like 17 bucks, 20 bucks. It wasn't the cost, it was the thought that the person knew, yo, I love a pen, you love a good pen. And so she got me a pen, right? And so I think for guys, you should look at those little things. Find out what um what because like I'll give you an example. We talked about this a long time ago. Like I'm not a big flower person, to
Right.
be very honest with you. I think it's a
Mhm.
complete waste of money, right? But I do realize that there are some women out there that are into flowers. So if a woman tells me, "Oh, I love flowers and stuff like that," I'll get them flowers, even though in my mind I'm thinking it's a complete waste of money because these flowers are gonna die in a couple of weeks, and I just spent 40 bucks on some flowers that are gonna die, But I knew it was something that she liked, right? And so you've got to kind of pay attention to those things. What motivates her, what stimulates her, what tickles her fancy, so to speak.
That is such
You
an
know.
assumption. Do you know I still had every last rose petal my husband ever bought me for the 17 years we were married? From our very first date, he bought me white roses, and
Mm-hmm.
every anniversary after that, he bought me white roses. And I
Mm-hmm.
dried every last one of those heads. I
Mm-hmm.
had boxes and vases full of those roses. For some people who like flowers, we do appreciate it. It's not a waste of money. I've had them, and they made a
Mhm.
nice story as a centerpiece. So, I mean, for some people, that means a lot to buy them flowers. I mean,
No,
to
and
you, it might seem like a waste of money, but it was
right, that's
the.
what I'm saying. To me, it's a waste of money, but like I said, that's why, like you said, you appreciated it. So he knew, like, you know what, my woman, my wife, she loves him, and he did it for you. Like, so listen, same thing with my wife. She loved flowers, and I would send flowers to her job randomly. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not because it was her birthday, not
Mhm.
because it was Valentine's Day. I
Mhm.
just liked and I wasn't there to see her reaction, right? But when she got them flowers, and they're like,
Mhm.
you got flowers. She's like, what? And that's just to remind her how much I
Mhm.
appreciate her and
Mhm.
what she does, and her being a great mother and things like
Mhm.
that. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? So that's why those things are important. You know
Mhm.
what I
But
mean?
that
To be
showed
aware.
her you were thinking about her, you appreciated her. To have it show up at her job, it meant that you were claiming her. She got to praise you. So that meant everything to your wife. And that spoke so much life into her. I'm like, what woman doesn't want to be like, oh my God, my husband sent me
Yeah, and even someone you're dating, you know what I mean? If you send some, little
flowers?
gift to someone or some flowers or I mean, I'm a big edible arrangement person. I love to send edible arrangements,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
You get an edible arrangements at work, and they're like, "Oh my God, who sent that to you? Is it your birthday?" And they're like, "No." Is it your anniversary? No, no. They're
Mhm.
like, "Oh, okay, damn, you handling your business."
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, so
And I
definitely.
still feel like the gift giving goes into acts of service. I mean, that's just my opinion.
Mhm. Yeah, no, I get it. And I mean, there's also, it's funny because on this list it has things, um, and they tell you how to do words of affirmation, right? And so this is what they have here. They say, for words of affirmation, send an unexpected note, text, or card, right? So we kind of talked about that, right? For
Mhm.
words of affirmations, a physical touch, a hug, kiss, or cuddling, right? Receiving gifts, give thoughtful gifts and gestures. Express gratitude when receiving gifts, right? And then the things it says to avoid, it says not recognizing or appreciating the effort, right? So like if you send someone a gift and they don't even mention it, like obviously you ain't getting too many more gifts after that. um, Physical neglect or abuse, right? So you don't want obviously someone hitting on you or doing something inappropriate or what have you. Receiving gifts, un authentic gifts receiving, forgetting special occasions, right? So you should never, ever, for those guys listening, never forget your woman's birthday. You know what I mean? Like never forget Valentine's Day. And in fact, I could just tell you that one of the things that I really loved about my wife is because most women don't make a big deal about Valentine's Day with their man, right? Like they usually expect the guy to do a lot when it comes to Valentine's Day, right? They expect to get some flowers, they expect to get some candy, stuff like that, and that's what we do, right? But she always made it a point to do a lot for me on Valentine's Day. Now, I didn't need it, but it was nice. It was appreciated. That she was like, "Oh my God, I love you so much. I want to show it to you." And she went all out on Valentine's Day.
Mhm.
So, and not a lot of women do that. So this is my public service announcement for women who don't. Guys like it too. We don't need it, but it definitely puts you in a different category, right, than a lot of other women, because a lot of women don't. Their expectations is they expect to get, and I listen. I don't eat candy like that, so but it's so funny because when I was in school, when I was in junior high school, this is so funny. There was this girl who liked me, and she would bring me flowers every Friday to school. Every Friday, she'd bring me flowers, and I'm like, thank you, but I wasn't interested in her romantically, but she
Mhm.
was always trying to win me over. And I'm like, no flowers, please. But she would bring them anyway. She's like, oh, I wanted you to have them. And guys, at least for me, I'm not a big flower person, right?
Mhm.
But I'm sure maybe there's some guys out there that are flower people. You know what I mean? For me, I'm not a flower person.
So I'm not into the holidays because I just feel like it's expected. I prefer receiving gifts or things of that nature outside of the norm, outside of the daily.
Mhm,
And I feel like that means so much more, to men than I
mhm,
get the whole catering to your man on Valentine's Day as well, but I
mhm,
like to cater to my man in other ways. Like for instance,
mhm,
I told him, hey, when you get home from work, get dressed. I'm taking you out to dinner. Where are we going? Ruth's
mhm,
Chris. It's on me. Anything you want.
mhm,
Get there. The sommelier comes out, recommends a
mhm.
wine. I'm literally whining and dining him. And he's like, is this what this feels like?
Right.
And I feel like that meant so much more to him than, and to me, just seeing how much he appreciated it, than you buying me a gift because it's Valentine's Day. I feel like it's an
Mhm,
obligation, but when you do stuff for people just
mhm.
out of the norm, like that means so much more to me than anything
It
else.
does. It does. And like I said, it definitely puts the person in a different category, for sure. All right. So quality time, it says create special moments, take walks and do small things with your partner. So quality time, yes. I'm all for that. And listen, sometimes I could just tell you one of the best dates I've ever been on. And all we did is we went to there's this park right next to the Henry Hudson, right?
Mhm.
And it's like a there's a little park over there. It's over near Poughkeepsie. That's what it is. Poughkeepsie, New York.
Okay.
Right? And we got a blanket. We sat there. We had some food, and we sat there and talked for like an hour or two, just talking,
Mhm.
getting to know each other, upbringing and desires and stuff. And it was one of the best dates I've ever been on.
Mhm.
Where it wasn't, it didn't have to, we didn't do a lot. All we did is sat there and talked. But
Mhm.
that's when you really get a chance to. And listen, sometimes that's on a Sunday. If you're just sitting there on the
Mhm.
couch talking,
Mhm.
and not necessarily having to go somewhere and do stuff. That's when you really kind of get to know the person. You
Mhm.
know what I mean? Like, and that's why you want to ask a lot of questions. Their
Mhm.
mindset. How they look at things, right? Because the more you spend with someone, the
Mhm.
more it reveals, is this
Mhm.
person ideally suited for you, right?
Mhm.
Do you look at things in a similar manner, right?
Mhm.
Like, because listen, there's nothing worse, right, than being with someone that you never really asked a lot of questions. They never were in a really certain situation scenarios, right? And
Mhm.
then the person says, down the road, I never really knew him. What you mean you never really
Mhm.
knew him, right? But
Mhm.
they never knew that aspect of him
Right.
because they never were in that situation with him. They never asked questions like that.
Mhm.
Listen,
Mhm.
you need to know, like,
Absolutely.
let me ask you a question, right? And this goes out to all the folks out there too, right? Is your political view, is it important that your political view is the same with your partner?
Yes.
Okay.
For me, absolutely. Because I
Okay.
feel like that could cause a lot of heated discussions and arguments and yeah.
Right. Exactly. Right. So I was dating this woman that was a Trump supporter, right? And she loved Trump. She just thought he was the greatest thing since sliced bread. And I'm the
Mhm.
complete opposite, right? Because I'm
Yeah,
from
that's
New
why I was
York.
shocked to
Trump
hear
is,
you say that.
yeah, right. But what I learned while I was dating her was that it wasn't important to me to date someone that politically we were on the same page, right? Like you would think that, someone you date, y'all have the same views politically, but that wasn't what was important to me. Right?
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah, but I feel like without getting off topic, I feel like that's the
hmm
same thing as if you would date somebody who has your same religious beliefs.
hmm
I feel like it can cause a lot of rifts. I mean, especially if you consider how much the parties make a difference in your life, how much it affects even our economy. I feel like that would cause huge problems in a relationship if you were
hmm
on two different pages.
well, now, religiously, I think you should be on the same page. Now, politically, not necessarily, but religiously, you should, right? Like, there
Mhm.
was a show, matter of fact, I think it's called, what's the show on television where they're in the pods? Love, is that the Love at First Sight?
Yeah, or is it Love is Blind? What is it? Love at
Love,
First
Love
Sight? Is
is
that what it
Blind.
is?
You know what? Love is Blind. That's the one. Love is
Okay.
Blind, right? So there was this episode of Love is Blind that I saw, right? There's a guy, he was, telling the girl, "Oh, you know what? You would be wonderful, this and that." They're talking. Now, the woman was from the South, and she, was a Christian and, very into, going to church. She grew up in a church, right? Her family was very, spiritual and religious, right? And he was an atheist, right? And so when he said he was an atheist, she said to herself, "Oh, but my parents, they're very, you know, religious and this and that." But she wanted to
Hmm.
be married so badly, so she was like, it's not. She thought it wouldn't be important, right? And so when he met the family for the first time, the mother said, "Well, what church do you go to?" And he's like, "Oh, I'm atheist. I don't believe in God." And she was like, "What?" And the mother, she was like, "Oh," she just stood up and walked away.
Hmm.
Right, right. And the father and I think one of the brothers was there, and they was like, "What?" So the father didn't walk away, but he was like, "What? We believe in God and this and that."
That's pretty deep.
And so he was like, "Well, this and that. I don't believe in it." And so the mother, chewed into her daughter, like, "What? Why are you bringing this dude here? You know what I mean? Like, he don't believe in God, this and that." And it went haywire from there. It went downhill from that very moment because she thought that that wasn't important. But your religious beliefs are important. You should be on the same page, right?
Mhm.
Now, do you need to both go to church every day? Probably not. But that religion, sometimes is like that core value on how you treat people. What you believe in, just doing the right thing morally. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? So, I'm gonna have to say religious is important. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
absolutely. And that quality time is so important too, especially when if you can learn to sit in quiet with your significant other and not feel lonely,
Mm-hmm.
that is like one of the most beautiful things in the world. Like if you can just sit in the quiet with them, and again, like you said, like the picnic, oh my God, we love that. Like I tell my fiance all the time, I
Mm-hmm.
love a botanical garden. I love just going for
Mm-hmm.
walks or just sitting out on the beach, or it's just something about being out in nature with your significant other and really being able to have those one-on-one conversations without the distractions.
Right.
And I feel like that's important to really get to know the person that you're with.
Yeah, and I mean, that's why I like the beach. I love to go to the
Mhm.
beach with someone and just sit there because it gives you an opportunity not just to see the waves and, hear the water and stuff like that, but you know what? You get an opportunity to really just sit there and talk. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? About what motivates you, what drives you. Where do you see yourself 5 years from now? How would you like the your partner to add value to you? Where do you think you made a mistake in the past that you don't think you would make that same mistake a second time around? Just different things like that. And only these things
Mhm.
can be revealed if you spend time with them, you know, park, beach, living room, bedroom,
Right.
whatever.
Mhm.
But quality time, very, very much. That's why quality
Mhm.
time to me is number two. Right.
Yeah. But I think sometimes though our love languages can evolve as well. And like what might have been important to us at one point in the relationship can
Hmm.
evolve into us needing something else later on. Or we may not have realized that this was what we
Hmm.
really needed, especially once we get really comfortable with a person, we let our guards down. I think sometimes those our love language kind of can surprise us a little bit and can change. And I think that
Hmm.
we need to always be able to have those conversations like, oh, well, I thought you liked gifts, gifts. And I'm like, well, no, I don't like gifts anymore. I just want you to sit
Hmm.
with me, just spend quality
Hmm.
time with me. And you have to be able to have those conversations.
Right. And it's funny because, quite honestly, if you really look at all five of the love languages, we kind of need all five, but
Mhm.
to a different degree,
Right.
right?
I agree with that.
So, like, let's just say we look at it all as 100%. For
Hmm.
me, gifts probably would be 20%, 25%, quality time 25%,
Hmm.
and then the other two, well, the other three, it might be 17% for one, you
Hmm.
know,
Yeah, I agree. I
so
definitely agree.
yeah, so that's there used to be this book called Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. You ever remember that book?
Hmm.
Right, where they talked about how we kind of talk to each other because
Hmm.
sometimes we're talking to each other but we're not listening.
Right.
you know so for me, when I'm talking to someone, and they don't know this sometimes, but I do jot down notes, right? Because I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm sometimes not gonna remember everything. So for me, I will jot down a little note if they say, you know I want to visit so and so. So that way I remember she mentioned, one day she wants to visit Paris, right?
Hmm.
So hopefully one day we can go to Paris. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Or she mentioned, her brother is the most important person in her life. Little
Hmm.
things you're not going to remember, but you should jot them down because these things
Hmm.
are important, right?
Hmm.
So,
That's funny. I stopped dating a guy once because he said on his bucket list he wanted to take his significant other on an Alaskan cruise. I
uh,
said, not me. Like, no, this Puerto Rican ain't going
Mhm.
nowhere near the goal.
Yeah, yeah,
Like
sorry.
delete.
In fact, I have a friend of mine. He went to Alaska. He wanted to do fishing in Alaska. Like I guess I forget what they call it. There's a specific name they have for it. And he was like, "Oh, we went to Alaska." I'm like, "What?
What, ice
Like,
fishing?
who the hell wants to go to
Wants to go
Alaska?"
to Alaska and that's black or has any kind of melanin. It's
Right. Like, I'm sorry. Now, what's so funny is there's supposedly because there are a lot of oil rigs in Alaska, and there's a bunch of fishing and all that kind of stuff in Alaska. There was a TV show where they were taking women to Alaska to meet guys. Apparently, the guys are like 20 to 1 in Alaska, right? Like
Mhm.
there's no women there. So a woman, if she's looking to get married, let me just put that out there, ladies. If you got a fur coat, you got a bomber, whatever, you want to meet a guy, go take your butt to Alaska. There's a bunch of
Bring them
guys,
back.
a bunch of guys in Alaska with no women up there.
Mm-mm-mm.
Apparently, for me,
Stay there.
I'm not going to no damn Alaska.
Mm-mm. No, they probably got extra blubber too. Like, no, thank you.
Or they're Alaskan. Like those
Listen, their
Alaskan dudes.
blood is different. They got more fat on. No, thank you.
You know? But yeah, yeah. So no. Mm-mm.
No, but no, I definitely agree with you. I feel like we all need all five of those to balance.
Mm.
And sometimes, one side might be, a little weightier than the other side. Like sometimes we may need more of those words of affirmation. And then sometimes, we may need more of that quality time. I feel like I definitely agree with you, your perspective on that.
Yeah, and words of affirmation, like I said, to me, um, I'm not going to mention the person by name because he might be watching, right? But anyway, I had a relative not too long ago break up with his girlfriend, right?
Okay.
So he calls me and he was like, I broke up with my girlfriend. So I was like, well, why? Right. And he says, I broke up with her because, well, she broke up with him. Let me backtrack. She told him, listen, we're through. And so he called me because he was hurt. He was very hurt. Right. And he didn't understand why she broke up with him. Right. So I said to him, well, did you tell her how much you appreciate her? He was like, no. And I said, did you ever text her or tell her you miss her or you can't wait to see her? He was like, nah, that's being soft, right? And I was like, that's not being soft. That's just letting her know that you appreciate her and you look forward to seeing her, right? And he was like, oh, that's like being soft and this and that. And I said, that's why ultimately you broke up. Because
Hmm.
if you're with a woman after a certain period of time, there's an expectation that they expect there to be a progression. They want to see that you're more into them. And so he never, after, 4 or 5 months,
Hmm.
never told her, I miss you. Never said,
Hmm.
maybe 4 months is a little early for love. I don't know. But, never said, I'm thinking about you. It doesn't hurt you to tell someone, I'm thinking about you, or I wish you was here.
Well, I think that's why I loved online dating so much because
Hmm.
I feel like it allowed men to access their feminine energy without degrading their masculinity
Hmm.
because they were allowed to say, oh, what, with some of the prompts, oh, what's your love language? Oh, what is it that you need? What is it that you're
Hmm.
looking for? And things that they might not have normally expressed. They
Hmm.
get to do it without having to feel, oh, I'm soft. But a lot of men don't realize it's not that you're soft, you have emotional intelligence. If you can
Hmm.
display that emotional intelligence, that's going to mean more to us than anything.
Hmm.
And I think that's why I liked online dating so much because I already knew off the bat. I found so many guys are like, I need physical touch, or
Hmm.
I mean, so many men. I felt like they were crying almost,
Uh-huh.
like because, and I need you to text me every day, and I need you to be consistent, and if you're gonna give me good
Hmm.
mornings, and in the beginning, you got to continue to give me good mornings
Hmm.
later and good nights, and I'm like, did we switch roles? Like,
Right.
but it was just my blindness and my ignorance because I feel like men never had the platform to really express that that's what they needed. And online dating gave them that platform
Hmm.
to express this. I need that consistency. I need those text messages. I need you to check in with me. I
Hmm.
need you to continue doing that. Because would you really come out your mouth and say, hey, babe, I need you to text me every day? Good morning.
Well, to be very honest with you, no, because
Exactly.
I don't. You know what? I don't need that every day, but I know women do because they say,
But some men, I felt a lot of men that needed it. A lot of men needed to have that good morning every morning, that consistency. If I might have missed one day saying good morning, is everything good? I didn't hear from you. How come you didn't respond back? Da-da-da, da-da-da. I'm like, oh
listen,
my.
I could just tell you, I've had that happen on a couple of occasions. Someone talk I'm talking to, early on, and you say good morning, have a great day, this and that, and this and that. And if you miss one time, what's the matter? Because and listen, not all women. Let me just preface it by saying this, but there are some women that if you don't say good morning one time, they start overthinking. Well, what's the matter? There's something wrong, this and that. No, I'm sorry. I had to get up early. I had to make it to work. Didn't have time to say good morning. But,
And
nevertheless, what
then
about
and then you get though, when you have time for what you want to have time for. So
right? And but what's so funny is I was watching this show. I don't know I forget what show it was. But anyway, the woman was saying how the guy didn't say good morning to her, but he said good morning on Facebook, right? So she was like, "Well, you had time to say good morning on Facebook," right? And I mean, this is why I try not to. I don't interact with someone I'm involved with on Facebook because you don't want to live your life on Facebook. That's social media, right? To me, you keep your personal on the low, right? Like you don't need to let the world know who you seeing, who you dating, this and that, right? Because not everyone is happy for you.
oh
Not
my God,
everybody
that is
wants to
so true. Oh my God,
wants
I
to
just
see you
experienced that.
succeed and be happy. Trust me when
Mhm.
I tell you, there are people out there that, and this is why I would tell, and
Mhm.
there's not a lot of women that would probably do this, but to me personally, I don't think you should put your relationship status on Facebook, right?
Mhm.
Because, let's say you put your relationship status on Facebook, right? You say in a relationship. Now, when the relationship, God forbid, ends, right? They're going to be afraid to say single again because now the
I
whole
don't think
world knows.
so. No. I have
No.
no problem saying single again because then it's like, okay, oh, especially after what you taught me
Uh-huh.
recently, that men are always willing to have a second chance. So it's like, okay, I'm available again.
Mhm. Okay.
I
Well, I
put my
mean,
relationship status on Facebook because on online dating, I have so many people that I'm talking to, and
mhm,
then some of
mhm,
them only want to talk on WhatsApp, and some of
mhm,
them only want to talk on,
mhm.
on the phone. And so I'm like, this way I can shut all 120 of them down at one time. Like I'm in a relationship now. I'll get back to you later.
That is
If
why
this
you
relationship
are
doesn't
Arena
work,
Duhart,
no, whatever.
the,
You said
the
it right.
heavyweight champion of the world.
Listen, so I felt like Cardi B, like you wasn't going on my gram until you put a ring on my
Mhm,
finger. And I made that
mhm,
mistake and put it on my Facebook.
mhm,
And oh my God, when I tell you all of the phone calls and wait, I was like, you know what? I'm not doing this anymore. I took it all
mhm,
down. I'm like, that's mm-mm. No. So
mhm.
ooh, yeah. So I agree with you. I mean, I'll do a status, but I'm not posting a picture.
Mhm.
I'm not
Well,
doing it
definitely
anymore.
not a picture, but like you know what? Like I said, I think people they don't need to know because there are going to be folks out there that they don't want to see you happy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because they're unhappy, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when they see that you were in a relationship and it ended, trust me when I tell you, there are people out there that are happy because they
Mm-hmm.
love misery loves company. Nobody
Oh,
wants
you
to
just
be,
gave me an idea.
nobody
I'm gonna
wants to
change
be
my Facebook
miserable.
status back to single. See if they'll leave me alone.
Listen, don't get cut because I mean I don't want your fiance to cut you. I don't want to hear on the
No,
Florida
I
news
still have
at
no.
6.
I still have it as single on there. I should
Mhm,
change it, but I went
mhm.
from widowed to now single.
Got you.
So I felt like that was enough of a change
Mhm. Got you.
for
Got you.
people to
Got you.
know. But no, that's funny though. But yeah. So you talk about all of them in the book, huh? Can't wait. I haven't
Yes,
gotten my copy yet. I know I still have to order my copy. I'm excited to read it though.
yes, yes.
But
And everybody who's purchased, by all means, thank you so much. I just put in for the second. It's so funny. Let me tell you what's so funny, right? Now, because I just started a TikTok, right? Recently, I don't know, TikTok, their algorithms and them, like so many people have TikTok, right? So people that I haven't heard from in like a year, months, out of nowhere. Like there's this girl that I know. Last time I spoke to her, she was just starting law school, right? So anyway, and she reached out to me on TikTok. She's like, "Hey, what's up?" I'm like, "Hey, what's up?" Right? She's like, married, graduated law, law school, all that stuff. I'm like, man, like people are coming out of the woodworks that I haven't spoken to in like forever.
mhm.
So, big ups to TikTok because I mean, you just see people that you haven't spoken to in forever. They all, and it's good to see that they're doing well, right?
Mhm.
Like there was, I have to even say, I think I said to you, there's someone for everyone, right?
Mhm.
And you know how I said to you that me personally, I'm probably not gonna get really involved with someone who has like a major illness like lupus, right? So anyway, I think I had mentioned to you there was this girl that I had met online who had lupus. Very pretty though,
Mhm.
very very pretty girl, right? But anyway, she was telling me how she's always in pain and all this other kind of stuff. And I'm thinking to myself, man, she's gonna have a problem finding some dude that's gonna want to deal with that. Boy, was I wrong. So let me be the first to say I was wrong because she's married now. Now, I'm like, okay, apparently he don't care, that she's dealing with a major illness and all that kind of stuff, and is gonna have her good days and her bad days and stuff like that. I guess if you fine enough, guys don't care.
You
They're
really
like,
slap you, Craig, because I'm engaged and I have lupus, and this is my third husband. I've never had a problem getting a
that's what
husband.
I'm saying. If you fine enough, there's gonna be guys out there that don't care.
I think it has something to do with my personality and the way I treat people.
I'm sure.
Listen, and I was having a lupus flare on Sunday, just out of the
Uh-huh.
blue, and my fiance was like, "Babe, go lay down." I woke up like 6 hours later. He was playing Uno with the kids, had cooked dinner,
Mhm.
had gotten them, their clothes out for the next day. I was like, okay. See, there are some men who like to show up, Craig.
I don't mind showing up. I just don't want to have to deal like I'm sorry, I don't want to deal with the women who I got migraines. You know what I mean? Like I got
I
this. I
want
got
to slap you so hard right
like
now. Oh my God, I want to slap.
sorry,
Oh,
I
man, I
don't.
want to
Sorry,
punch
I
you.
don't. I don't want to deal with
You're
it.
bringing my Philly out. Oh my God, you're bringing my Philly out. These earrings about to come off. I'm about to get my Vaseline.
But once again, there are plenty of guys that don't mind, right? Because you've had three fiancés, so they obviously don't care.
No,
Yeah.
husbands,
Excuse my
not
language. All
fiancés.
right. Three husbands and how many wedding marriage proposals, like 90 marriage proposals.
I know I had four.
How many you turned down? That's the four that you.
One. I
Oh,
turned down
okay.
one.
Oh, okay.
One marriage proposal. That was it. And then this will be my third husband. Man, I can't
Mhm.
stand you.
You know, but
But you know what? To each his own. I mean, you got that pretty face. I'm sure you can pull them and you can get everything that's on your wish list and check off all your boxes. So
listen, if I could get everything on my wish list, quite honestly, I'd probably be married right now. But you know what? I don't expect to
you're
get
so
everything
cynical.
on my wish list, to be very honest with you. I only expect to get 60% of the 100. I think if you get 60% of what you're looking for, you're ahead of the game. Hold on with dear life because you're not going to get 100%. You know what I mean? If you get between 60 and 80% of what you're looking for, right? Yo,
I swear, 90% of the stuff that comes out of your mouth is rage bait. Like you just want. And if you don't know what that means, go ask your sons. You are literally rage baiting me right now.
no, don't take that too seriously. But no, seriously, be happy with 60%.
Oh my gosh.
But let me just
No.
say, everyone who's watching on, YouTube, thank you so much for listening. Sorry for the technical difficulties. So we went a little later today because, as you know, this show is always an hour. But I know how to avoid that because it has to do with memory. So I got that covered. Next time we will be on time, right? But once again, like, subscribe. Let your friends know. Don't forget to pick up. Cash at me the good, the bad, and the odd, so you can hear some of the odd things. And it's so matter of fact, remember I don't know if I mentioned it, there was this woman that I had met, and all she did was talk about her father.
Mhm.
Doesn't she pop up on TikTok? I see a picture of her on TikTok. I'm like, oh. And then this other woman that I met a long time ago, who was she was like scratching nails on a chalkboard listening to her talk. I was like, I
Mm.
couldn't wait to get away from her, and she popped up on TikTok too. I'm like,
You
TikTok,
must
man,
have uploaded contacts.
huh?
When you set up your profile, you must have uploaded your contacts, and that's why you're connected with all these
Right. No,
people.
that's fine because listen, I want them to buy the book. So by
I
all
know that's
means, you know what? I have no ill will towards them. They weren't meant for me, but
right.
nevertheless, you know what I mean. Definitely check out the podcast, and you know what? I meant to share an email address with folks. So any questions, suggestions, by all means, because one of the viewers is actually suggested discussing the five love languages, even though I have it in the book. But so we will be back next Tuesday at 9. We will discuss another topic. Be safe out there, and see you later.
Good night.
Good night.